What's up, brothers, and welcome to episode 24 of Pay to Glory. So this is the series for the casual FIFA fan like myself, Wheezy here. So what you guys are seeing on the screen here is the new team of the week. It just released about an hour ago. I wanted to kind of go through it similar to the way we did a couple weeks ago when we talked about some of the stuff going on in the FIFA community, which I'd like to address later on. But before we jump into the gameplay, I just kind of wanted to talk through the team of the week here because it was a really interesting one for me. With the ones to watch now in SBCs, quite a few of these guys are getting upgrades. Mkhitaryan, Batshuayi, and Theo Walcott there you see are hitting all the winter ones, as well as I believe Salah was a summer one. That Salah card is incredible. 97 pace, 89 shooting, and then his passing, his dribbling are really good. This is a card that is basically on his fourth upgrade now. So he's approaching those team of the season type stats already. And, we're just after Christmas. It's just the start of February. So expect really big things for his team of the season card. Theo Walcott and Mkhitaryan, both right mids. I'm not as keen on Mkhitaryan. I think he'll be quite overpriced just because of the team that he plays for and the demand, and there's a lot of Mkhitaryan fans. But Theo Walcott will be the one that I expect to see a lot of. He'll be quite cheap. I think his ones to watch was only about 30 grand, something along those lines. So I expect a lot of people to be using him. It'll probably go up a little bit, but there's so many of him on the market, so he'll be quite cheap. But 93 pace, 83 shooting, they really did him justice by giving him those stats. Michy Batshuayi, another interesting one, 84, 89 from his pace and his shooting. So very good stats there. You're also probably going to see some people trying out Higuain, Ramsey, Hummels, as well as Nathan Ake. He's on his second in form as a center back, so another interesting one. But the one for me that I really found interesting was Alex Telles. Brazilian left back from Porto, 88 pace, 84 defending. There's not a crazy amount of left backs in this game that are affordable. You've got David Alaba, Alexandro, Roberto Carlos, but they're all, 100K plus. I think Alexandro might be a little less than that. I think he's probably about 60K, somewhere in there, if I'm not mistaken. But still, they're expensive cards. This Alex Telles could be a real gem. He's got really good stats, really high passing, decent physical, but it's that pace and defending that'll be really good as a left back. So definitely somebody to consider in your beast teams. The rest of the team of the week, you're probably just guys that you're going to hold on into your club and potentially use through an SBC or just discard for the 10,000K. But a really interesting team of the week. Some really good rated players. We're now getting at a point in FIFA where these informs are now getting really high stat upgrades. So it's definitely worth picking some of these guys up. So that's going to be it for the team of the week. Why don't we jump into some of the gameplay? Okay, guys, as we jump into the gameplay here, what you guys are seeing at the start is we did do the lone JJ Okocha Prime SBC. It gives you 20 games on him. His stats were decent. He's got 87 shooting, or 87 pace, as you see there, 83 shooting, really high dribbling, 94 dribbling. His stats are reflective of what the card is. He's okay pace, didn't feel crazy fast, but his dribbling is really good. But it was just his shooting and his passing just didn't feel like they were worthy of the price. Like, to do the loan one obviously is really cheap, so I recommend doing the loan one. But to do the full SBC is going to be probably 400 or 500K, and the absolute low end. That's how much the cheapest SBCs are for those prime icons. You can get much better players. Excuse me, for 400 or 500K. You could get Paul Pogba for 380 or something right now. So I would recommend doing something like that instead, or you could even get like an informed Kevin De Bruyne for around that area. So I just don't recommend doing it. It helps that he kind of links to everybody, so that's a plus with the icons, obviously. But there were too many drawbacks with him. He didn't feel like Maradona or Mateus or even like the Frank Rai cards that I have in my team. Those cards feel like they have a presence. Those icons, they do special things, and he just didn't feel like that. I only use them offline, of course. We can use them online if you guys want to see it that badly, but to me, just wasn't really anything super special. I'll use the 20 games, and then that will pretty much be it for him. What you guys are seeing now is my rewards from Butt Champs last week. So we just got the rewards on Thursday. We obviously just went 5-3. It wasn't anything crazy. We didn't do a crazy amount of games and get like really high rewards. I think we ended up finishing like bronze 3 or bronze 2 because we only played the 8 games. But conveniently, it actually was the end of the month, so we did get our FUT Champs monthly rewards as well, which was McConville. Not a card that we're going to use. He'll probably just sit in the club and wilt away. But, that's what happens. I didn't expect the world. I'm happy just getting anything. To get like a silver SBC, or silver, excuse me, a silver reward card, sorry, is somebody that I'm not ever going to use, but if we can rinse them through an SBC for whatever reason, that would be really handy for us. Now as we actually jump into the gameplay though, you guys are seeing the first games we did play were Seasons games. Seasons have become very, I don't know, disenfranchised, I guess, with, and the whole reason for it is just, like, a lot of people, say that, like, FUT Champs is sweaty. I feel like FUT Champs is more enjoyable than Seasons. FUT Champs, I know people really grind out, they're a little bit cheap, but, in Seasons, it's just, I don't know, it just feels like there's just so many other things that just really annoy me. The first game that we came up against, this guy had, a decent team. And he was a good player, but it was like after we went 1-1, he just went on defensive. And that's not a knock against him. He's another Canadian guy. Bacon Strips, I think was his name. So, there you go, Bacon United. He's got that Canada badge. So I can't hate on him because he's a fellow Canuck. But with that being said, once we went up 1-1, his team just went defensive. And it was almost like he was playing for a draw. And that was quite reflective of my Seasons experience. In the past, I've never really had great enjoyment playing. I guess it's divisions, not seasons, sorry, but in divisions I just never really enjoy, for a couple reasons. One is it feels like there's just so much pressure on you to get points. Like, you can't lose, which I know you can't lose in FUT Champs, but FUT Champs is a little bit more kind of offensive minded. I don't like Seasons in the sense that it feels like people grind out draws and they just play for like 1-0 wins, and it feels super sweaty, and I just don't enjoy it. I've been trying to come up with like so many reasons not to play divisions. Like, as you guys have seen earlier on in my videos, in the earlier versions, like, I would be playing a lot of seasons, a lot of divisions, because that was where the gameplay was. It was easy to find matches and it was fun because you were coming up against different opponents. Now in these higher divisions, it's just sweatfest over and over and over. So as we went 1-1, you're going to see he's essentially counterattacking me, and then every time I was getting the ball up the field, like, he just felt like he was just lying so deep, like he just had so many men back. I couldn't break through like this wall of defenders. Especially later in the game, it was just like his team had about 2 or 3 players up the field, and then about 7 of them just sitting there in this like defensive wall that would essentially not even move outside of his 18. So as you can tell by his formation, you didn't really expect that, but I don't know if he went defensive or ultra defensive or what, but there was just a lot of men into the box, and it felt like a real counterattacking opportunity. So we end up finishing 1-1. He was a good player. I'm not taking anything away from him. I don't mean to insult him or anything like that, but those are just the types of games you get in divisions, and I just haven't really enjoyed it. Like I said, I've been trying to come up with as many reasons as possible not to play him, because I just haven't enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed other areas of the game. So as we come into the second game here, we're sticking with divisions. This guy's got a very interesting team. I give him full credit for originality. A very interesting team in the sense that he's got Calcio A down the left, EPL down the right, 2 legends, Shearer and Hernandez up front, and then he kind of fit in Giovinco in there, Sebastian Giovinco. So his MLS, I guess it's the MLS SBC, the League SBC, so he was fitting that in there, which was very interesting. I give him full credit for originality, but now the game's at a point where you really need to play meta teams, and I hate to say this, but especially in seasons or in divisions, and FUT Champs, you can't play with any weak links. Like, the game's at a point now where it's all about the competition, like it's all about winning, and for the most part, FIFA has kind of been like that for a lot of its history, but I guess what, has been frustrating, and I kind of touched on this in the past, is that there's no kind of casual gameplay involved in it anymore. Like, you can't really go into online singles because online singles are just, sorry, I gotta turn that off, but online singles are just players from FUT champs that are taking a break, and they all end up conglomerating in there, so you end up coming against really high-end players. There's not a lot of really low-end guys, and when I say low-end guys, it's not like, I don't mean them as a person, I mean like in terms of like lower division players, players that are kind of noobs, or even mid-level players. You're not getting a lot of them. Because they'll just quit out once they see your team. Because everybody's got beast teams now. They'll play like 2 minutes and then they'll just quit. Or as soon as you score a goal, they'll quit out. So Ultimate Team has become like just a super highly competitive game mode. As you guys can tell with like the FEWC now, like they all use Ultimate Team as its only mode of gameplay. So really nice pass there from Maradona. I was unfortunate to hit the post there, but yeah, Ultimate Team is pretty much the competitive mode in FIFA now. Like it is the be-all end-all in terms of like where they want to take it as an esport. But what the downside is twofold. One, for me, there's no casual gameplay. Like I would like to see them bring back just a tournament, like not the knockout tournament, but just tournaments, and just use different qualification type of parameters with it. So it's like, hey, you have to use a silver team today, or hey, you can't use player that's higher rated than 82. You know, whatever the reason is, or no legends tournaments, or just different parameters every day, or hey, this is an Eredivisie tournament, so maybe it drives the prices of those players up. Just something that creates more demand, and keep it outside of the daily knockouts. So you've got a tournament section, and then you can have the FUT Champs daily knockouts. And the reason for that is I don't actually like the idea of putting parameters in the daily knockouts for FUT Champs. I do believe that FUT Champs should be competitive gameplay. It should be the best team that you possibly have going up against the other best teams you possibly have. If it ends up being pay to win, so be it. But like, it's just use the best players you can, because this is the most competitive game mode that they have. They use it for regional qualifying and whatnot. But that's the way it should be. It should be use your best players without any restrictions. But I would like to see a casual element come back into the game, so you can actually play for fun and have some fun and get some rewards for doing it. But having parameters, so you're not coming up against Martial and Gabriel Jesus every second game, or coming up against a team full of icons every single game, so just adding a little bit more variety, adding that casual, bring back some of the fun to Ultimate Team, which is coincidentally what this series is about. I would gladly do that. I would love to show you guys, the parameters of a new tournament that's come out, and play that for you guys, and actually put that in the series. I think that'd be a lot of fun to do. But with that being said, my other point was with the game itself, where it is not just that it's all about competition, but pretty much you're getting a lot of parity with teams, and people are just playing the same style over and over and over. So you're not getting a lot of variety. People getting worn out by it, and the game's just become really challenging. There's a lot of things that are going on with it in terms of like having bugs, in terms of when it's a qualifying month, people are cheating to get into FUT Champs, and FUT Champs is just it's 3 days of just pure sweat. So that's been a real challenge for the actual game itself, and I know that that's something that people would love to see rectified. They would love to see something different go into the actual gameplay itself. So as we go back to the game here, what I was playing, I just kind of want to tell you guys what was happening here in terms of seasons, so you know what the heck you're watching. That second game that we ended up playing, very different game. It was a lot more wide open. This guy played a very, very different style from the first one. It was a lot more room on the field. Ended up scoring some real crackers, with Maradona, especially as the game got on. I got a lot more confident that I could take shots. Ended up working a really nice goal from the corner with Luka Modric. I've been really a big fan of that Luka Modric card. In terms of being a box-to-box guy, he's probably the best. Not just stats-wise, but he's probably just the best box-to-box center midfielder you're going to be able to get all year. So if you're looking for a good center midfielder, you guys know I like to build my team around that midfield because they control so much of the play. You can get sweaty strikers at any time during the game. Center backs are pretty much going to be, the guys that are going to stay the same, but from a midfield standpoint, you have a lot of options. You have a lot of different formations. But for me, I like to build around that midfield because it's going to be so important. More important than defense. Defense is more of a checkbox. You need guys with really high defending, good pace, but you can go get Eric Bailly, you can go get Azpilicueta, and you can be pretty much set for the year. But to really get a good midfield, you'll notice a big difference in your team if you can get midfielders that can hold possession and hold the ball. What you guys are seeing now is these are my squad builder rewards, or not squad builder, I'm sorry, my squad battles rewards. So squad battles, I finished, I guess it was silver 1. This has just become more of a checkbox for me. The squad battles have been good for 10,000 coins every week. Like I said, I just played 2 sets of games. I've looked at it, it's not worth it for me to even get gold 3, because gold 3 is like another set or 2 of games, and I just don't see any benefit in actually playing those extra games, because you get like an extra 1,000 or something coins, and maybe like a excuse me, like a jumbo premium gold pack or something like that. Like, it just wasn't worth the extra amount of time that you have to spend, especially because it's so frustrating to play offline games. I've gotten so annoyed playing those teams that are really low chemistry, and I never understood why they played so well. Like, they were teams that I was afraid of. When I would come up against the featured squad, the featured squad's 100 chem, and they would actually be the easier team to play, and I would get better results against them, even though they were full of icons and team of the seasons and everything. But coming up against a team that had like red links everywhere, they would always cause me a lot of problems, and I never understood why. So I did some digging into it, and from what I understand, offline, when you're playing against a team that's got really low chemistry, your team adopts that chemistry. So your team only plays to 50 chem if you're playing offline against a team that's 50 chem. So I don't know why they did that. I don't know if it was just to make it so it was like fair. It doesn't make any sense. I don't see any benefit in it. It was just super frustrating. But it is what it is. So that's one of the reasons that I've just decided not to like play as much squad battles. Like I said, it's more of a checkbox. I just do it to get my 10,000 coins, get a couple packs. If I can pack anybody, fine. But I don't expect anything from those premium gold packs. I actually, though, with that being said, I did do one of the... they have some SPCs out right now that are related to the FUT transfers. So... excuse me, guys like Diego Costa would have him with build a team around Chelsea players, or build a second team around Atletico Madrid players, and you can actually get like some okay packs, nothing crazy, but you know, some decent packs from it. And I ended up packing Jan Oblak from like a real cheap like gold jumbo pack. It wasn't even a gold premium, it was just like one where you get like 3 rare players, and I think I ended up getting Jan Oblak from that. So that was a really cool little bonus. So like I said, you never really know what you're going to get. 99 times out of 100 you're not going to get jack squat, but that one time that you do get something, it's worth it, because you're really just giving a lot of discardable cards away. So as we come into this third game from seasons here, or divisions, or what have you, whatever you want to call it, we are up 2-0, and I end up squandering this lead. Credit to this guy, like, I don't know what happened. He turned on the Jets later on in the game, but he ends up scoring his first goal. Just poor defending from me. I was having a tough time switching it, and then he ends up scoring this goal where he just whipped in a blind cross, and Frank Rijkaard runs in and heads it into his own net. So that was just one of those ones where, like, I felt like I didn't deserve to be tied with him, but unfortunately, you know, there's games where I could say the same thing to my opponent, like, he probably didn't deserve to be tied with me, or I didn't deserve to be tied with him. Like, it happens back and forth. And then again, just poor defending on my part. I don't know if I was just forcing it and he caught me on a counter, but this was a bit against the run of play. I was holding a lot of possession and really attacking, and I thought I was going to be able to get another goal, but I just couldn't break through his defense. It was just a lot of this here. You guys are going to see here. Like, it was just his team was kind of spammy all over the place. That's not the best example, but it was, you know, that was actually poor attacking from me. But, like, I just couldn't break through his wall, and then he was just trying to counterattack, and he would almost catch me on plays like that where you would just get a shot away with Rashford and Martial. But just a lot of this, just a lot of buzzing around the net, a million defenders. I really should have done better. I should have had a couple better opportunities come out of some of these chances, but I wasn't able to do it. And then he just does this. He just runs down the field, whips it across. Stupid play from Bailly. Doesn't take a touch, doesn't clear it. Takes it right into Rashford's path, and then Rashford side volleys it. So when that happened, I was like, okay, that's pretty much it. And then you guys can see your team just falls apart. So I play a pass inside, wait out the pass for Valencia, and then he just runs and it bounces off his foot and shoots up into the air. So it was those types of things that I was just like, oh, cool. Okay, well, this is pretty much done for. Like, there was a bunch of opportunities that I had that I just cut out, like where my players would just take stupid touches, or I would be on a counterattack and I'd pass and the guy would do the lunge, collect. So I was just like, okay, well, I'm pretty much not going to win this. And of course, I end up getting a 90th minute goal to make it 4-3. But as FIFA always does, it gives you the chance to make it close, but it's going to be too little too late. So not to take anything away from this guy. He came back in a game that I usually don't squander leads. Going 3-4-1-2 was actually very helpful for me, or 3-4-2-1 or whatever I went there. But going into that type of formation helped me kind of draw it back. But he just, I just squandered it. I just pooped the bed, I guess you would say. So it was frustrating, but it was one of those things that happened. And I've had a lot of opportunities to do that against my opponent where I've come back and won. So as we head into the fourth game here, we come up against Shirok Shooters, I think it was. He's got an MLS team with a silver backline. So two things popped into my head when I saw this. One was, this guy's going to be very good because he's in Division 3 with an MLS team. But two, my team's going to have a competitive advantage because of the way I've created it. Like, they're a lot better players, so I need to take advantage of that fact. In the past, this may have been a benefit to this guy, and he might have handicapped me, but this year doesn't feel like having silver players anymore is really beneficial. But with that being said, this guy was a very good player, and he got the best out of these guys. I think the lack of quality in his team in terms of the actual players that he was using would hurt him in opportunities like that. He was good at creating chances, but they were squandering them because of the lack of quality in the actual play. So as we head into the 45th minute, you can call this a 45th minute goal, whatever you want, but it was actually well worked. I was proud of the way I actually turned him in the end. He was defending quite well. He was buzzing around, and I just don't think he, expected this. Ball came in, the drag back, turn, all his defenders got caught looking the other way, and I basically just hammered a shot, low driven, near post, just kind of finesse that into the near post corner there. And we're up 1-0. So that really changed the game. I felt a lot more confident. I wasn't as concerned. He was very spammy in terms of the fact that he was a really good player, but he was just buzzing around like a buzzsaw, and it was hard for me to create chances because he was trying to read them. But we got to the point where I was just holding possession a lot better. I was just getting a lot more confident on the ball, and I just felt like this was my game to lose. So, or more my game to win. I didn't want to lose it. But with that being said, we were able to create that second goal just after the break. Ball comes in, nice vision, low-driven pass across the Lothar Matthäus, and he one-times it into the far post. So this guy was just like the last guy. He had a lot of men in the box. It was hard to break down, but I was able to see that far post pass there, just drive it across, and he just one-times it in. Great little run from Lothar Matthäus, and then it just basically became, the Wheezy show as I was just able to control a lot of it. He was not playing badly, but his team started to break down. A great seeing eye pass from Griezmann finds Maradona, and Maradona with that low driven, and then you see what's going to happen right there on the top of the screen. He's out. He didn't like that at all. So Shirok Shooters basically just quits right after that. So I give him credit for playing with that team, but it's a bit of a spam team, and I get that when he wins, it's probably all fine, but he just didn't want it, I guess. I don't know if he's from Ecuador or if he's Ecuadorian or just like the flag, but Latin American guys usually are quite good generally. I don't want to have a sweeping generalization, but a lot of them are quite good. He was a very good player. I just think that his team let him down. He just didn't have the quality in his actual squad to get a result out of that. So as we go into, I think this is our last divisions game. We played one other game after that, but this is our last divisions game. We come up against this guy. He's got a 4-4-2 defensive, so he's using those two center defensive midfielders in Bakayoko and Kante. He's got basically a French top half of the field and then a EPL backline with Azpilicueta's in form and Eric Bailly, Valencia. Very similar to my backline, but he's using Asmir Begovic, who is still a card that I'm seeing a lot of. Like, I guess it's just because he's just a cheap option. But he's become like the new Ederson. Like, just almost everybody's using Begovic. It surprises me because I don't look at Begovic and think this is a really great card and everybody should use him. But it's a card that everybody seems to be, using in these divisions and stuff like that. I kept this clip in just because I love that slide tackle. Frank Rijkaard just ended that guy's life. He ends up actually, you could tell that he was getting a little frustrated, and he wanted to take my guy out too. So I think he ends up slide tackling my guy quite heavily there. Or he just ends up coming and taking out Lacazette. But I was just like, those are just one of those things that you just are so satisfied when that happens. So this guy was actually a good player. He would just he would kind of back off in terms of the way he defended, and I was able to get that first goal in there. But he attacked really, really strategically. He used a lot of the left stick, which is something that's become quite popular in the FIFA community. Guys not even using the skill stick, it's just basically left stick dribbling. When you get guys that have really high dribbling ability, they're able to just essentially evade. So as you'll see in a lot of his plays, he just kind of is a one of those guys that would circle. He would just kind of like circle back, and he was very hard to tackle because he would just try to evade your tackles, which is a good strategy to have. It's very frustrating to defend against because it's very hard to defend against. But he was, you can tell that he was still working it out. He was working out the kinks because he was actually quite good at it. But it's one of those things where you can always get better at it. It's very hard to do. So he ends up pulling it back to 2-1 or to 1-1 with Florian Thauvin, I guess is his name. And Thauvin is actually in this week's Team of the Week, so I alluded to that earlier, that a guy ended up burning me with him. He scored a really nice goal with him, and then I essentially scored, not off kickoff, but not that shortly after there, a nice shot, and then I was able to get the cheese basically bounce back to me, and then he scores near post. Lacazette's always going to put that away, so making it 2-1. And then I don't like to necessarily see out games. It's not my style. I like to attack and play like forward thinking, but this guy was very, very tricky, and he was playing kind of hyper aggressive in terms of his offense. And you guys can see here, he was very hard to kind of handle. Like, he was hard to keep defensively sound against. So unfortunately, I had to go defensive because it was just one of those things, like, especially in seasons divisions, you have to get points. And as I was alluding to earlier, I hate having to do that, and I don't want to encourage that type of defensive behavior and seeing out games, but I pretty much had to. Like, I think I went defensive, but I didn't go like super put a bunch of park the bus, put a million guys behind the ball. I actually thought I gave away a penalty there, but thankfully they didn't call it. It would have been a BS penalty if it was, but I essentially had to just basically play in a lot more defensive kind of minded and try to read his play and kind of counterattack. Just because I knew that if I tried to go offensive or if I tried to push anybody up the field, that he would have caught me on some cheese. So fortunately, we were able to kind of frustrate him and get that 2-1 win. You could tell from the way he was playing, he was diving into tackles and he was just rushing me. I didn't handle it great. I should have handled it a little bit better. I potentially could have made it 3-1, but I was really just focused on maintaining that, maintaining the result and getting the victory, because he was a good player. He was a tough one to handle, but we do end up winning, and I'm happy with that. But that ends up being the last game we played from divisions because I was just tired. It was just so sweaty. I was tired of playing high pressure games, so I decided to go into the daily knockouts and try to play in just one of the knockouts. And because I wasn't concerned about like playing all 4 games of the DKT, I was like, I'll just play it and not worry about it. I'll just treat it as like an online singles. But with online singles, it's just hard to find matches. So I went in there and just played this very lackadaisically. I treated it like a friendly. But this guy actually ended up being a fairly decent player. A nice little pullback there. I thought I made it 1-0 earlier on with Antoine Griezmann on that pullback, but great little shot. This guy actually defended fairly well. He attacked a little oddly. He would kind of play wide. Balls would come through to Harry Kane, and he would kind of play it out wide and then try to work it back into the middle, kind of like that. I don't know how Harry Kane got a header on that, but he almost ended up getting a goal from that. And then we end up making it 1-0 here on a nice little give and go with Lacazette. I'm telling you guys, that L1 pass button, if you guys don't have that in your repertoire, just like below driven, put it into there. Learn how to do it. Basically, when you're hitting pass, you hold L1, you hit pass, and see the pass and move from Lacazette after he made the pass to, I guess it was Modric there. He shoots into space. If I wouldn't have held L1 on that pass, he would have passed it and then just stood there with the defender behind him. So that caused that goal there. Just learning how to add that into my repertoire. It's so dangerous, especially in the box. It just adds an element of skill, an element of aggression, I guess, in terms of your player's offensive ability that is very, very important. He ends up making it 1-1 here. I don't know how that went in. It looked like it went through my goalie. He heads it down. Like, I'm not upset because he had a free header. It was poor defending on me. I got sold on the cutback. I should have been better with it. But the header came in and hit my keeper right in the chest, and then somehow went down under his legs and then back. So I don't know how the physics of that make any sense, but whatever. He deserved a goal because he was wide open for the header anyway. It was just annoying, the animation, I guess, that it ended up using. And then we end up pulling it right back with Frank Rijkaard. End up getting a shot. The cheese bounces back to him. You're going to see here the ball comes over to Lacazette, or over to Griezmann. He ends up trying to take a shot, and then it just cheeses its way over to Frank Rijkaard. And I'm not going to miss from there. I'm just going to hit that double tap, do a nice little low-driven shot, and he's going to bury that. So I was up 2-1. I felt a lot more confident. I thought I had a third one here, but those are the types of consistencies that are just very frustrating. And that's what I wanted to talk about regarding the game. So, my second point surrounding it being an esport is just the game right now is not consistent. So if they're interested in making it like an esport and actually having this as a competitive game mode, which it essentially has become, like it's become the be-all, end-all in the FIFA community. They use it for the FIFA Interactive World Cup, or the E-World Cup now. If you're going to make it the like sole focus of like making this an esport like Ultimate Team, they really need to have the competitive elements just a lot more consistent. They've got things like random things that would occur in seasons, which are fine if you're going to have it offline, like, have a guy get injured and roll around on the ground, have him sit there complaining to the ref. Those types of animations, if you're going to have it in a competitive esport, if you're going to make that single mode, you can keep that in seasons, keep it in offline, keep it in managerial mode, but if you're going to have a competitive mode, you need to remove all that other junk. And if a guy's got an empty net, it needs to be a lot more consistent. Like, right now, it's just so random. If you've got an empty net, sometimes the guy will score, sometimes the guy will blast it into the stands, and it just needs to be a lot more consistent in terms of like how it plays if you're going to make it an esport. Just make it as fair as you can. Don't make it random, as much random number generated, whatever you want to call it. But you look at games like World of Warcraft and Dota, like you can't have a guy shooting another guy and then the other guy's gun misfires. You can't have a guy being able to cast a spell and the other guy's wand doesn't work. You know what I mean? And that's what's happening in FIFA right now. So I hope that they, listen at some point and figure out how to make it a proper esport, because right now it's not capable of doing that because it's just too random. The things are just happening are too random. So we end up winning our final game there. A decent result from a good player, but that's going to be the end of the gameplay, guys. So until next time, till episode 25, take care. Peace.